How y'all doing? Breauna Wisdom here. I just want to go ahead and take the time out and share my story. I know y'all hearing a lot of my music and you're like, where does girl come from, you know? I run into a lot of people that's like, use the secular rap. Why you Christian rap? I mean, I don't understand why you do that. You know, you could still do regular rap and love God. What made you Christian rap? You could do so much better secular rapping. Like, people say that to me a lot. And I feel like if God gave you a gift, then it was ultimately for the benefit of the kingdom of God. And that's okay if you don't use, your gift for God, but at least acknowledge that he gave you the gift. That's just how I personally feel. If it wasn't okay for you to use your gift outside of God, then I feel like he wouldn't have gave us free will. I think that you should use your gift for God, though. But that's a whole nother story. Pretty much, I just wanted to share some of the things that God, has done for me. He's really, really been a big help in my life. He's been protecting me, watching me, guiding me, the whole nine. I decided to Christian rap just to try to give back to my father, help the community, make him happy. Because he's really had his hand on my life. Back in 2003 is where I first, confessed that I believed in Christ and that he, died on the cross for me and my sins, and that he was rose on the third day. That's when I actually confessed it. But as a kid, I was the kid that slept through church and did anything to kind of get out of the service. I would play like I was too tired in the morning. I would go to church and keep going to the bathroom. The whole nine. I would just do little things to not listen to the pastor, not necessarily be rebellious, but basically to avoid hearing the message. I just thought church was a bunch of words. I just thought it was boring, But at the time, I didn't know any better, which is cool, because ultimately, the little things that I did learn got me here. God, now my relationship with God is not just knowledge anymore. It's more a revelation. God has revealed himself to me, Over these last 3 years, I really see a lot that he's done for me. I got a few wake-up calls. It was 2 days after my 18th birthday where I moved out of my house. I just upped and moved out of my parents' house. Thought that I was in love with the female. I had dated guys all my life, so it was like, excuse me, but it was like, okay, I dated guys all my life. How come when I date my first female, I fall in love with her? I have to be gay. Then I also was a tomboy growing up, so the boy role wasn't really a big deal for me. It was kind of like, oh, okay, I'll be a stud. I feel like I fall more up under this category than anything. Around that time, like I said, moved out of my parents' house 2 days after my 18th birthday. I thought I was in love. I was head over heels, and I was doing the most. We're going to just put it like that. I moved out of my apartment, all kind of things. When I first moved out, I had no place to go but my best friend's house. Didn't have a job. I wasn't in school. I hadn't even had my diploma. I was missing a math OGT, so I had all my high school credits, but I didn't have my math test. And to be for real, I struggled a lot that year. My best friend really helped me up that year, by letting me stay in their home and stuff like that. But I felt like around the time I just felt betrayed by my family. I grew up in a house where my mother would tell me, you could talk to me about anything. I love you no matter what, things like that. And when I confessed that I was gay, it was like the tables turned. And I forgive my parents for it because, now that I'm older and I put myself in their shoes, I just think like, man, that had to be a huge shock to them, you know, like, wow, my daughter just told me she's gay, and she just up and went from dressing like a girl to dressing like a guy. But basically, I was talking to the girl that was my girlfriend at the time. I was talking to her before I got with her for a while, probably like at least 3 or 4 months before we actually got together. And I just started to fall in love. And my father, I think he started to notice how I was switching up with the way that I dressed. I would do the basketball shorts, hat to the back, and beaters. That's how it kind of started out. And I already played basketball before, so the first couple times I did it, everybody was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." But then when it was starting to become a everyday basis, I think that kind of raised my father's eyebrow, like, what's going on with her? And it was just becoming very uncomfortable at home. I really didn't want to follow a lot of the rules that I was given. I wanted to be able to leave the house when I wanted to leave the house, and the whole nine. I wanted to be able to have my girlfriend come around me. I didn't want my parents all in my business. The way that they did find out that I was gay was one time. I believe I got put on punishment. Yes, I had a strict, I had a strict father, so I was getting on punishment at like 17, stuff like that. He took my phone, he was going through it, and he ran across some text messages and a voicemail. So it was kind of like, after that, I was still denying the fact that I was dating a girl. Then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have to go out here and I have to say something. So I sat my aunt and my mom down, told them about it all. And once it was out in the open, everybody just started acting strange, and I felt weird. I just was becoming more and more uncomfortable at my house. So I took that leap, and I just was like, I'm gonna move with my best friend, not knowing how hard it was gonna be for me. And it was really hard. It was really, really hard. I'm gonna try to shorten this story up because it's really, really long. But like I said, I was staying with my best friend for a little bit. Eventually I got a job, and I stacked up my money. I saved about $3,000. Saved about $3,000 up. I paid my rent in advance. I paid for the things that went into my house. I shopped and stuff with some of the rest of the money, but I got most of the big business out the way when it came to my apartment. Moved my girlfriend in the apartment and stuff like that, because I didn't like the environment she was really in. She didn't really seem happy, and we wanted to be together. That's just how it was. Along that time, I experienced a whole lot of heartbreak, a whole lot of anger. There was just a whole lot of things that I really was not used to. No offense to her, but to be honest, I really felt like I grew her up, I took her on her first date, her first real date, taught her how to save her money, look for a job, all of those kind of things. I tried to help her develop more of a drive and confidence. And in the midst of all of that, I ended up holding myself back because she was a person that was kind of depressed and, negative thinking. So I used all of my energy, put it into her, and tried to get her to feel how I felt in order for us to make progress as a couple. And long story short, I really honestly ended up losing who I was as a person, while I was dating her. I really did. Like, I already had got caught into this masculine role, this dominant role. I'm already an aggressive person, but I got caught into this dominant role. Then, I began to get stud friends and other gay friends and, little gay people that liked me, like films and stuff like that. That was kind of like, hey, what's up? And, stuff like that. Stuff just really took off. And I eventually lost Breauna. But along the way, I experienced a whole lot of cheating and just lies, betrayal. you name it, I probably experienced it within that one relationship. So yes, she was my first love. Yes, she was my first serious relationship. But I felt like I caught up to a person who had experienced many heartbreaks, you know. It was a point where we would argue a whole lot. I wasn't really used to doing the whole arguing thing constantly. And the arguments, the way she handled her anger was more of like a lashing out at you, and she would like physically try to fight you. And she was more of a thick chick. As you can see, I'm skinny, so it was kind of like the first time she hit me a few times, I was like, whoa, like, what's going on? To be all the way, honest with you, I kind of went by myself and cried about it, because I'm like, wow, this is a person I love. Why are we fighting? I wasn't used to that. But along the way in the relationship, it went from, we had our good moments and stuff like that, but it went from like arguing to fighting. She would start the fights. Then eventually, when I was angry, I would start the fights. She started not starting the fights as much as I was anymore. So it was like that energy was just bouncing back and forth from the both of us, and it was just turning really, really bad. And then in the midst of that, she was already sexually active before we got together, and I wasn't. So, it was kind of, it was easy for me to stay faithful, sexually, and just faithful in general. It was easier for me because that was my first love. I wanted to be faithful. I felt like this was the person I was supposed to be with, period. So I didn't look at her as just a girlfriend. I had sort of a parental love for her because of how much of the things that I taught her, how to try to save her money. I helped her, I kind of, led her into, opening her first bank account and finding a job, took her on her first real date, little things like that. I had more of a parental love for her, and I felt like that was who I was going to be with, period. I didn't see myself being with anyone beyond her because of the way that I felt. I felt like, that was my wife or something. And that's exactly how I treated her. I'm not trying to make this to make her look bad or nothing like that. I'm just trying to be honest about how everything went down and, how I got here. Along the way, we just experienced a whole lot of road, bumps in the road. She began to cheat. She kind of didn't know what she wanted as far as a girl or a guy, but she wouldn't say it to me. Her actions would always display it, but I would always go off of what she told me. She'd be like, I love you. I want to be with you. And that's all she had to tell me. But I used to see otherwise, like she got pregnant, and we was actually about to raise a girl together, a little girl together. I went down to City Hall, and although she got pregnant, she cheated on me to get pregnant, I was just like, I love you, and that's okay, I forgive you, and I don't want to see you become a single parent, so I'm going to help you, and I want to have this, family with you. I really took her down to City Hall, and we went to go get legal guardianship papers, and I was going to sign them and everything so that if I got attached to the child, she couldn't just take the child from me. But she ended up miscarrying. And, that was kind of tough. I almost think I sort of took it a little harder than she did. But then again, she was actually the mother, so maybe she did take it way harder than I did. I saw her emotion, but just mentally in my head, I was kind of messed up because, she was hurting and I didn't know what to do. Then I was originally told that, I got pregnant because, I wanted a family with you, and there was no other way for me to do that. That's what I was told originally. Me being naive, I believed it until people in the neighborhood told me, basically, hey, she's pregnant, by a guy that was around the corner. A guy that I actually, was around a few times. I didn't know him personally, but we were around each other a few times at little cookouts and kickbacks and stuff like that. So that kind of hurt because eventually I found out she lied. I had to pull them two in a room to find out the truth, and it was just lie after lie after lie. I'm not going to put all of her business out here, but it was just really, really a rough patch for me. And my parents, they really didn't want her around. They kind of didn't, well, not my parents, my stepdad. My dad, he kind of didn't, want me to bring her up or want me to bring her around and just stuff like that. I just really felt cut off from my family. And since I left my house to be with her, I kind of felt like, I had that thing inside of me that told me that I shouldn't be there. I could do better, I shouldn't be with her and stuff like that. But I kind of felt like, you left for this, so you need to make it work. Like, this is all I have. I started to feel like, this is my new family. And I knew my family loved me. My mother, you could tell she was very uncomfortable with it, but she still loved me and accepted me. I believe my stepfather, I believe he loved me too, but he just was not on it. Like, he would make little comments about it and just stuff like that just made me really feel like an outcast, because the world was already looking at me in a certain way, and my friends, I was losing a lot of my straight friends, and people was already kind of treating me bad. I didn't want to, hear it even more from my stepfather. But along the way, had my house for a while, my apartment for a while. I ended up getting evicted, and it was just horrible. I lost my job, and she was supposed to be finding a job during the time that we were living together. I told her, I said, I don't want you to live with your parents. I know the kind of environment you're in, and if I have an apartment, you should live with me. So she did, and I just was like, I'll take care of everything as long as you look for a job, and can find a way for the light bill to get paid. That was pretty much the deal. So I basically took care of her. We were together for about 3 years, and along the way, eventually I got evicted, and I was so hurt about it, because my apartment was like my biggest accomplishment to me. It was like a personal accomplishment to me. It was just in my head, I kind of grew up, I had low self-esteem, and kind of was, verbally abused. So when I got my apartment, it was just everything. It was like, oh, wow, look what you did. You're able to manage a household. Wow, look what you got. You bought your own bed set and your own living room sets. Little stuff like that. I just really felt encouraged, and I felt like somebody. I felt like I had achieved something. So to lose my apartment, it really hurt me. And Brittany, if you're looking at this, I apologize to you, because, I apologize to you. Because at that time, I blamed you for it. Because I felt like, if I have a job and I'm working while you wasn't working, you should have been finding a job. And although you wasn't, finding a job, it messed us up in the end, but in the same breath, it's not your fault, because I moved you out of your parents' house trying to grow you up and trying to, teach you things and make you who I wanted you to be when you wasn't ready. And my name was on the house ultimately, so I was really the one that was, responsible. Yes, I believe, you should have had a job, but who cares? It's over with now. Who cares what I believe? All I know is I apologize for how I made you feel about it. But I hit rock bottom depression, especially after being cheated on all of the times that I was cheated on during my relationship. I did a lot of crying and stuff like that. And I went from crying to praying. I would just pray, cry and pray, get in the shower and pray, go to sleep and pray. And we was living on Brush Avenue off 276 in Euclid over there, Oaks and Euclid Apartments. And right down the street was this church called Imani. And my mother had took me there probably 5 years ago or something like that. Before that, probably not even 5 years. I don't know exactly when, but she took me there a few times basically, and it was cool. But I was getting so depressed, and I was just hitting rock bottom, to the point where I would just sit in the house and cry and stare at the eviction notice. And then, you know what, I just got up one day, and I remember I remember telling Brittany, I said, let's go to church. She's like, I ain't got no church clothes. I ain't going to church, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, I'm going to church. I put on my green, I had a green Gap shirt, collar Gap shirt. I put on a green collar Gap shirt. I had a black bow tie, and I threw on some jeans and some boots, just like a stud. And I didn't wear the hat though. I went right down the street at the corner of Brush. I went to Imani Church, and it really helped me. You know, it encouraged me. It gave me some direction and some better understanding of what may be happening in my life. And from that day on, I continued to go to Imani Church like every single Sunday. It was really helping me. I was really developing. And then not even that, but around the time I was still talking to girls, you know, I was still trying to date females. And what made me make this decision to, you know, dress like a girl again and rap for the Lord and all of that was one day, you know, I'm in my stud clothes. I came to my job, and I was at work basically, and it was like, you know, do the girl side of the mannequins, dress the girl mannequins today. And I was kind of mad because I normally would dress the dude mannequins. I dress like a dude, so I hadn't dressed like a girl in a while, so I thought it was going to be a difficult thing. So me and Brittany was broke up at the time, but I'm picking out all of these clothes for the girl mannequin or whatever. And I don't know what happened, but like the next day we ended up getting paid, and I ended up buying all of the clothes on the girl mannequins. And then the ones that I picked out for the girl mannequins, the outfits. So then I get home and I'm like, what, you know, what the heck? I'm looking at the clothes, like literally upset, like, why I got these clothes? I'm not wearing these clothes. Why I even buy these? What? I'm not about to be dressing like no girl, you know? I was just pissed about it. I was really, really mad about it. And it was kind of like you could take the clothes back if you don't want them. But the very next day, I ended up dressing in the clothes. And I complained about it. I just continued to dress in the clothes. I complained and complained and complained about it. And I tried to go back to the stud clothes, but I began to feel uncomfortable in the stud clothes, like in the guy clothes. And it was kind of like I was forced to wear the girl clothes because I would feel so uncomfortable in the guy clothes. And I was like, man, what's going on? I also got to tell you, around that time after I got evicted, I ended up moving back home. So I was going through a lot of stuff around then too. But while I'm going to church and all of that, I started to dress like a girl again. I said, forget it. It was to the point where it was so bad that I would complain and whine about dressing like a girl. It was so bad. My boss pulled me to the side and said, you know what? You keep complaining about the way you're dressing, but you don't have to dress like that. You're in control of your own body. You don't have to wear the clothes that you're wearing. And what she said, she made a lot of sense. But I just kept complaining and wearing the same clothes, and then eventually I didn't complain. So then I accepted it. I said, okay, well, I guess I'll just dress like this then. I am a woman. Okay. But I said, I'm going to be an aggressive femme, which is basically just a female that dresses in regular girl clothes that dates other girls, you know, that's in other girl clothes. Those are the kind of girls I dated, the girls that wear girl clothes. So I'm like, all right, I'll just do that then. I'll just play the lead dominant role as a girl that's already dressed like a girl. So I started to date, you know, different girls and stuff like that. And particularly, it was this girl named Dominique that caught my eye. And we were talking, and things were going really, really good. And I was thinking about really getting into a relationship with her. I remember around this time, I was still doing a whole lot of praying and stuff like that. One day I was at work, and I got a phone call from a guy that I used to date before I met my ex, before I met my first girlfriend. Before I met her, I got a call from this guy named Eddie. And it was out of nowhere. Eddie's like, you know, hey, how you doing? I'm like, hey, I'm fine. You know, how you get my number? You know, too many guys they didn't call my phone at the time, so it was kind of strange. It's like, hey, why are you calling me? But I didn't say that. I'm like, well, how you get my number? It's like, oh yeah, you gave it to me a while back. You know, he used to rap and I rapped. So he's like, yeah, I wanted to make some songs with you. But me and him also used to date like when we was like 16. We used to really, really like each other, and we lost touch somehow. I don't even remember how. But he knew at the time that he called me that I was gay, because I remember running into him during the time that I was in my relationship already with my first female. He had saw me, and we exchanged numbers and was talking about going to the studio. I didn't expect him to actually call, especially 3 years later, well, 2 years later, whatever the case it was. That wasn't 2 years, that was probably, yeah, after we broke up, 3 years later. So he called me. He's like, yeah, I want to go to the studio, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, well, okay. I'll call you about it. I'll talk to you another time. So I hang up the phone with him, and next thing you know, my phone rings right back. I'm like, hello? He said, did you ask me why I called? I said, yeah, but you already answered that question. So he's like, well, I called to see. Well, to be honest, I wonder whatever happened to us. So I'm stuck. I'm on the phone just stuck, like, what? Where did that come from? All this time you talking about what happened to us? So I was lightweight confused. But I started to talk to him a little bit more about it. Next thing you know, I find myself on the phone, blushing, I'm smiling. I'm just on the phone, just, oh, really? Oh, do you remember the time? And do you remember the time? You know, we reminiscing on the phone and stuff. And I had to instantly hang up because it felt so awkward. I hadn't spoke to a guy in a while, especially blushed and stuff like that. Because being cheated on by my ex, I kind of developed this thing against guys. Like I had something against them. It's almost like I didn't like them. I blamed them for her cheating on me when I shouldn't have, because it was her ultimate decision. But I ended up going in the bathroom with my job, and I started talking to God. I said, God, I used to make fun of girls that are bi. Like when I was a stud, I used to, ooh, don't ever let me hear that you say you was bisexual. I'm telling you, I used to make fun of them. Like for real, I used to be like, wow, they confused, they don't know what they want and all kind of stuff. So I went in the bathroom and I'm talking to God. I'm like, God, I'm gay. I know I'm gay. I know I like girls. I love you, but I know I like girls, and I know I'm gay. I don't understand what this whole talking, this whole feeling that I'm getting about talking to Eddie, I'm not understanding why I'm blushing on this phone and why I'm even, smiling like this. So I get to talking to him, and I'm like, are you trying to tell me something? Let me know. So along the way, we still talk on the phone. Me and Eddie was talking on the phone. Me and Dominique was talking on the phone. I was kind of talking to both of them at the same time, but I wasn't with anybody. I don't even know how me and Eddie continued to stay in touch, but I got to the point where I was sort of in a dilemma. I'm like, I like them both, but I was leaning more towards going with the girl, Dominique, because I'm like, this is what I'm more familiar with. I've been dating, I just got a relationship with my first girlfriend. I'm used to a woman, so that's what I was leaning more towards, dating a woman. But like I said, I was still going to Bible study and church around the time, so I consider God. I said, God, I just got out of a relationship with my first love and my first girlfriend. I believe that I'm gay. But if you don't want me to date a girl, I think that you should, say something to me now. Can you tell me now? Because I'm trying to make a lifetime decision. Because I don't want to be a bisexual girl. I don't want to be a confused girl. I need help making a decision. If you're trying to tell me that you don't want me to talk to girls, then I need you to tell me. I'm not going to make a decision yet until you reveal to me if it's okay or not. I mean, at the time I did know, God really didn't want us to be homosexual. But at the same time, I was under the impression that God loved everyone. And I know he does love everyone. So I thought that would have gave me a pass. But anyway, probably that's a couple days later, it was another girl that liked me that I was telling Dominique about. Her name was April. And somehow I'm on the phone with Dominique, and Dominique's like, yeah, this girl April, she sent me all these messages saying I shouldn't mess with you and you're going to play me and all this other stuff. And I was just so hurt because me and April was really close. And April used to like me, but I was not trying to, get into a relationship with April because I was more interested in Dominique. but they both